Motor vessel Tosca. Motor vessel Tosca. Vacate your engine room. Vacate your engine room. We're prepared to subject you to disabling fire.
And we're back with a Fox News alert on new video near the Strait of Hormuz. Moments ago, CENTCOM posted this footage of the U.S. intercepting an Iranian-flagged cargo ship. President Trump says a Navy destroyer stopped the vessel by blowing a hole in its engine room after it ignored repeated warnings to stop. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the second hour of the big weekend show. So as the Navy continues to enforce the blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, the president is at the White House working to get that peace deal done and warning Iran that the U.S. could target their power plants and bridges if they refuse to end their nuclear ambitions. Vice President Vance, Steve Witkoff, and Jared Kushner are expected to travel to Pakistan tomorrow for more peace talks. Back with us is senior foreign affairs correspondent Greg Pelcott, live from Tel Aviv. Greg?
Tommy, yeah, we've been watching some real skirmishing in the Gulf. U.S. naval blockade of all Iranian-flagged, Iranian-owned ships coming or going to Iranian ports using that Strait of Hormuz. And as you just saw in that video, there have been skirmishing. Most of the ships have turned away when the U.S. Navy has warned them to go away. But in this case, this cargo vessel did not turn away. And so, yes, the U.S. Navy, according to President Trump and according to this video, opened up some of its big guns, opening up a hole in the side of that ship. And we are told U.S. Marines boarded and took control of that ship. Tommy, that's critical because this is the first time that offensive actions have been taken against Iranian vessels since the U.S. Navy blockade started. The first time that U.S. service members have had to go on board, and that is just ratcheting up the temperatures here. That's ratcheting up the fever pitch between U.S. and Iran. Iran, through this past weekend, it's also been maintaining its own chokehold on the Strait of Hormuz. It's hit at least 3 vessels, and this back and forth is setting up a very uneasy approach to planned peace talks this weekend as the ceasefire just holds on by a bare finger there. Back to you.
Greg, real quick, so from my understanding, this is the first vessel that has actually been visited aboard, searched and seized, correct? Everything else is pretty much turned back. It says it's Iranian flagged. Do we take that to mean that it is owned by Iran? I know sometimes that part can be kind of confusing as well.
Yeah, Joey, what they say about this vessel, it has a history. It has a black history of shipping and evading detection, carrying items that are not allowed to be carried. It's a sanctioned vessel, and what will happen now is, with the U.S. in custody, they will bring it to a safe location. And this is the big question, because this is the first time that the United States has actually taken control of a vessel. And again, this comes as we have seen just in the past 2 days, 3 different ships, including one today, being hit by Iranian Revolutionary Guard vessels as they maintain their own chokehold on this very vital shipping strait.
Hey, Greg, I wonder, because you've been covering the region for so many years, what is the feeling there, both in Israel and in the region in general, about these talks, these upcoming talks? Does anyone have any faith that Iran can participate in peace talks in good faith, especially now that there is so much pressure on them with the blockade and their dwindling infrastructure? I mean, what do you think?
Anita, it is watching and waiting time right now, very nervously. I know the folks on the ground here, polls have been taken in Israel. They want to see the job done. They have seen Iran over their shoulders for all this time, threatening them. They would like to see it resolved one way or another. The talks, if they go ahead, will be dealing with some of the major issues of our time. And that is, I think, central, once we get beyond the strait, is the suspect nuclear program of Iran. U.S. demanding that the highly enriched uranium be brought out of the country, demanding that enrichment ends. And from what we're hearing on the Iranian side, they want to hold on to some strains of their nuclear program. They see it as their right in going forward. This is probably the biggest stumbling block in the talks. Again, if they go forward as they're supposed to happen as early as Tuesday, with this ceasefire running out shortly.
Certainly. All eyes on that region. Greg Palcott, thank you so much. So President Trump is putting Spain on blast, calling them out as the weak link within NATO. This comes as tensions boil over with Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez, who is continuing to clash with the U.S. by refusing to let American forces use Spanish bases amid the ongoing Iran conflict. The dispute highlights a growing rift within the alliance as several other NATO nations refuse to assist the U.S. Joey, yeah, this has been, an ongoing thing. President Trump not happy with the allies here. The other day, I think there was maybe an offer to help when they heard that the strait was open and they wanted to rush in, I guess. Now the strait is closed again, so I'm not sure what that does to NATO and some of these countries and how much they're going to actually assist in this endeavor. But they're really worried about their jet fuel. They're worried about the European vacations. I wonder, perhaps they're getting closer to stepping in. What do you think?
Yeah, it bothers me that Democrats especially are framing this like President Trump is blowing up our relationship with our European allies, when it's the European allies that are telling us we can't use the bases that we maintain, mostly fund to operate, and are vital to their own national security. So when you look into the guy in Spain, I mean, his whole family is under investigation for huge corruption. He's kind of known as being anti-Israel. So, I mean, the politics that he's engaging in here are, in my opinion, much more detrimental to NATO than anything President Trump has done, which to my count is encourage them to spend more on defense, which is what NATO is all about. So I think that, the attacks towards President Trump, because these NATO leaders obviously are either too afraid of their own voting bloc or ideologically more aligned with Iran than Israel or the U.S., that's what bothers me, is that Americans are framing this like President Trump is blowing the relationship up when he's asking them to actually do what the entire promise was all about, that we funded for decades.
Guy, not unlike the Russia-Ukraine war, where President Trump said, this is your backyard. You should step up. We will assist, but you should step up. And again, I think there was maybe lukewarm and then perhaps maybe a little bit better reception from NATO. They kind of understood, but then there was the whole debacle over taking Greenland, and some of the NATO countries got a little ruffled because of that. But where do they stand now, and what do you see happening?
It depends on the country, right? So there are some NATO countries, members, leaders who have been much better than others.
Yes.
I would say perhaps the worst is Spain. They are straining the definition of ally at this point. I mean, not only are they being overtly unhelpful, almost hostile to our effort against the Death to America regime in Iran. We actually played the clip yesterday of Governor Walz yelling and screaming about fascism and attacking the war effort while he's at a conference being held in socialist Spain. I hope the voters make some changes there. Some of the off-year elections suggest that they might. But this current leadership, this left-wing government, has been disgraceful. The whole thing with NATO is you're supposed to have to do the bare minimum on defense and spend the bare minimum. Spain consistently has been the derelict laggard, refusing to even do the last bare minimum that was required from years ago. They're still not there, and yet they sit around, at least this leader, posturing like he has some sort of moral standpoint that he can lecture us. I don't think so. If this is what Spain's going to do, this is how they're going to behave, I don't know why they should be continued as a member of NATO, frankly, and considered a U.S. ally if this is what their government's doing, if the voters continue to bless this type of thing over there.
Right.
I just quickly read the mission statement of NATO: to safeguard the freedom and security of its member countries through both political and military means. So, there may come a time when Spain really needs our help, and then what, right? We're going to come to help them. Of course we will, because that's what NATO is.
Well, President Trump has said they're not there for us now. What are they going to do if something bigger happens? I'm summarizing, but I think that's really his position. You're not here for this little excursion. Where are you going to be when something big happens? So that remains to be seen. But the Strait of Hormuz blockade is reportedly delivering a crushing blow to Iran's shadow fleet. For years, this network of ships has allowed the regime to dodge international sanctions. These ships, run by Iran, Russia, and Venezuela, often go dark by killing their transponders to avoid detection. But reports indicate key officials running the fleet have been killed, forcing the regime to abandon some of their plans to sell oil. All right, Joey, what do you got for us?
Yeah, this is what Greg was talking about when we were speaking to him a few minutes ago, is that, you know, anytime you hear that a ship is flagged to a country, it doesn't mean that what's on the ship is from that country or the people operating the ship and even owning the ship are from that country. It's the maritime flagging process is kind of hard to understand sometimes for someone who's very much on the ground like me. And so these shadow fleets can be flagged through, you know, a third-party country that we're friendly with and be hauling something that is not supposed to leave Iran. And what Greg said was, hey, this is a ship that's known. In other words, we have a list. We know who these ships are, what these ships are, who operates them, and what they do. We just haven't been there to enforce these sanctions. Well, if we're going to be there to do a blockade, that's a heck of a time to start enforcing these sanctions. So most of the ships we've turned around already are in this fleet, these types of ships, and it shows you, one, the level of intelligence and surveillance, and two, how effective a blockade can be. Because I really think Iran is on their last straw right now.
Yeah.
Yeah,
to that point, Anita.
I really think this blockade is the key to the whole thing. I mean, it is the only thing that is going to create enough pressure on Iran ultimately to force them to the table. I mean, like we said yesterday, no ships in, no ships out. Their economy is being squeezed.
Yeah. Is that enough, Guy, to get them to the table? I guess reportedly, maybe in the coming days.
Well, to the table, if they show up, who's showing up? Do they actually have the authority to agree to anything in a meaningful way? And are they going to seriously follow through on anything that they might agree to, right? So there's all those unknowable answers, at least for now, but those are the key questions. The other thing I would say, though, to the Iranian regime and some of the people, the proxies who've supported them, if they don't think we're serious about this blockade, may I offer into evidence Exhibit A, the video that we played at the top, which is like, hey, get out of your engine room, we're going to blow it up right now. I also think there's a trove of videos, if I recall correctly, that were taken off the coast of Venezuela a few months ago of the capabilities that we have if necessary. So this is not a paper tiger, empty threat scenario by the United States military.
Not with this president.
Nope. Certainly no paper tiger, President Trump.